liberty, independence has to start from yourself, right? Others, we're never gonna be free of anything, of colonialism, of patriarchy ever. Like it starts from yourself. Like I really think that we're all flawed human beings, right? Like if you're gonna start putting red flags on people, they're gonna start putting red flags on you.
So hi guys, welcome back to another episode of 30 Questions We Ask Thriving Women. And today we have the beautiful Danie Laurel. And we have a great conversation with her about feminism, living life, love, smells that you really love. It's a great conversation that you guys have to listen to, right, Bea?
Yes, I'm so excited. She was actually requested of one of our listeners and friends, and this is eye-opening, honestly. Yeah, I'm a changed woman after this. Yeah,
exactly. So enjoy the conversation, guys.
Thanks, guys, for having me. So excited to be here and talk about I don't know what, but it should be fun.
It will be very casual, and we are excited to have you on board because we're going to ask you advice for our women.
So, Danie, let's jump in the first question. So, I did read your article about your current partner now. So, what made Dito's shoot your shot move stand out amongst the others? Because I'm assuming, judging by what you do and how you look, there are a lot of people who slide in. What made him stand out?
Okay, so just I guess for the audience, no, like it was pandemic, and dito, I guess just for my audience to understand, my Instagram is actually 80% women followers. It's quite incredible. And that's why I'm I reach out to women quite a lot. I don't really use it as a dating sort of way, in a dating sort of way, because normally like guys don't have the patience to read through all my long rants and like posts, diba? So honestly, Dito had been messaging me for like 3 years, right? And I didn't really think of him as like my normal audience I'd interact with, because he's not female. He's not naman like a top executive or something that I would want on my show. So I would always go to message requests and I just be like, okay, exit. And then really, it's really pandemic, and I'm sure everyone can relate with this. It's really when you have time and you've been able to like just sit down. And normally in my Instagram, I don't even like pay attention to a lot of things. It's just so much, it's a barrage of information. And for whatever reason, I got like the first message, and then I just scrolled through it, and I was like, oh my god, like 3 years of like messages, right? Of like introducing himself and stuff.
Wow.
And then, so really, it's really by chance. And then I clicked on his profile, and I guess it was just convenient in the sense that he was from Alabang. He had gone to Ateneo. He had lived in Spain, which I had also, lived in before. And he was in the real estate industry, which I know his like company quite well. Like I've had them on my show. So he was even pitching about his company, like in one of the previous messages, like 2 years ago, right?
You gotta try.
Yeah. I mean, it was at the same time very random, but on the other hand, quite it just fit. It's somebody that I would have normally wanted to converse with anyway. But at the same time, it was exciting because I had no idea who this person was, and we had zero friends in common, and zero because he's 8 years younger, right? So I literally have no idea who his friends are.
Actually,
Persistence is key also. 3 years, you never know. The just keep trying and trying. I like that.
I really think so. And I think just sincerity also. Like the messages are just like very sincere and and nothing like strange. And it doesn't seem like a weird thing to do if you're really just interested in a person. And you genuinely want to meet that person. I think he was always saying that parang he just needed an in, and he knew that if I got to know him, like if I just met him once, like that would be it, right?
Yeah.
I just need an in.
Do you think women should also shoot their shot? And if so, how should they do it?
So this, like when you asked me this question before, I was really like, I don't see why it's even a question, right? It's like, I guess it's really in this society or in the Philippines, strange that women do it, because I just cannot understand why it should be the case. Like why? I mean, for me, we're all human beings, and we all do what we should feel that we want to do, whether we're male or female. So I really cannot relate with this sense of parang should women do the first move or should you wait for men? Like it just is beyond me, right? But apparently It is a concern for a lot of women that perhaps had been brought up that way. I guess I've spent, I left when I was 20, so I guess a lot of the dating that I've done were abroad, wherein you really just, it's not even about shooting your shot. It's really just about, you wanting to get to know a person, and if that leads you to being interested in asking questions, then by all means. Otherwise, like, how are you ever gonna connect with a person if you're just waiting and not doing your part? Like, it's not even about who should make the first move, or it's really about meeting halfway. And if the person doesn't give, I mean, then what's the point of even like continuing in any sort of relationship? So yeah, so I don't think it should be a conscious decision, like I should shoot my shot or I shouldn't. I really think it's like, if you're genuinely interested in a person, you will do it anyway. And if you probably didn't, maybe yeah, it's probably a lot out of fear, but it's also probably you weren't really that interested to begin with, and you were waiting for him to make the first move to make you feel more at ease. So, but yeah, of course, do what you feel like doing, and be consistent and mindful in terms of, I want to get to know a person, I'm a curious person, and I'm interested in that person, period, right? Regardless of how it turns out.
Do you think that age gap matters? Was it evident to you, or and if it wasn't, um, I guess what are your thoughts on that age gap?
I'm at this age, so I think people have different needs at different ages, right? So I
Mm.
can't really like say, okay, you should date a younger person, or you should like. I just think that, when I was younger, I always wanted to surround myself with older people. Not necessarily, of course, we're programmed to think, oh, you want to marry a rich person or financial stability, but so there wasn't really that. It was really more like, I loved learning from older, more experienced people, right? And honestly, surrounding myself with older people that I was dating really elevated, like, my ambition, and helped me get to places where I ended up being. And I think I had that sort of subconscious mindset that, okay, I love my friends, I like people my age, but I'm also so curious about like these older people, right? And what's going
Mm.
on. And I guess at that age, that was important to me. I wanted mentorship. And then now, I guess I'm really at that point where, okay, I've seen the world, I've done it, and I just need to be reminded of like who I am and who I was, right? And I think Dito
Mm.
gives me that. And that's where I am. Parang, I'm always hyper planning. I'm always super thinking about the future. And I feel like I know everything already. And then he'll
Mm.
like totally catch me off guard and be like, no, like just chill, right? And like life for him, it's like life is so young. There's so much things to like uncover. He has such a fresh sort of view and perspective, and I really need that. And it's the same things that the best entrepreneurs say, that like when you're young, you learn from the best, and then when
Mm.
you're older, you learn from the youngest people in the company. And I think it's the same way. It's just like the and having the capacity as a woman to decide to date a younger person, I think speaks volumes, because it allows you to say, okay, I've gotten to this point in my career where I can totally fend for myself, right? And I don't
Yeah.
need to date a person based on, okay, can he take me out to this restaurant or what? And I'm not uncomfortable with being able to take on that role. I think it's
Mm.
amazing. It opens your options dramatically, like really. Like, so I don't even think it's a strange thing. I think it's such a great option to have to date just a bigger range. And I tried like Tinder for like 48 hours, and
What did you
first you're
think?
thinking, and it asks you their age range, right? And you're like, okay, I guess I'll say like 30 something to like, because awkward. And then you get like few people that you're really
Mm.
not that interested in. And then I was just like, let's just like increase the age range from like 24 to like 44. And it's just like 12 of people. So I
Yeah.
don't get it. So now I'm like, yeah, it makes no sense to limit something ever.
Yeah. When is the right time to introduce someone you are dating? And in your case, how did you do that process?
So I read a lot about that because it's so important for me, right? That my kids are comfortable, and I talked to my ex-husband about it. And apparently, so the psychologists say, and I love this, that so children are smart and they understand what's going on. And the more you make it weird, the more they feel like completely, cut out from a part of your life. And it's like
Mm.
you're being unfair and dishonest to them. So first of all, from a feminist perspective, right? you
Mm.
shouldn't perpetuate the stigma of like it's bad to be dating. No, you should make it from a very early age your children understand, oh my god, mom is so happy dating,
Mm.
and like some relationships work and some relationships don't work, and they should get excited for you, and they should like be excited meeting this new person all the time, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is that you have to understand that children are happy with people that enrich their lives, and that the new partner should be a person like they say it should be like a coach or a teacher, right? Or like let's say a nanny that is there for a time, might not be there forever, might leave, but for that purpose in that period of time gave something, and is memorable for your children. And that's how you should treat every person you're dating, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know if you're, so
Yeah.
you can't give expectations of, oh, it's serious after 6 months, da, da, da. You should really just be like, okay, this guy is this, is my new friend right now, and guess what, he's going to hang out with us, kind of just like a teacher or a coach. And so I read that article in Psychology Today, and then I shared it with my ex-husband, and I was like, dude, they're smart, right? It's like you need to be honest with them, and then you need to like make it just normal and just take out all of these weird, awkward scenarios.
Yeah.
It was weirder for my boyfriend because of course he's 28, he doesn't really like get along with
Mm.
children. And I was like, you've known my situation from the get-go. You can't love me without like loving my whole life and world, right? It's like
Yeah.
totally who I am. Like I wouldn't be, you think I'm so cool, you think I've achieved all of that. That's because I have kids, right? So if I didn't have my kids and I didn't go through all of these, separation and difficulties of my life, you would not be in love with me today. You would not love the person that I am. So I said, it's so easy. I said, it's so easy for me to date random guys and never introduce them to my kids. So you
Yeah.
should like jump in with both feet and just love it. And if it doesn't work out, then too bad. But like for that period that you're dating me, I want you to date like all of me, and just let go of this weird situation, things that people are like discussing or whatever.
You're a busy and driven woman. You have a lot going on. When you see men, what do you think are red and green flags? Because this is something we've discussed in an episode, and people are like, we always fall for the red flags. Yung kahit na kitang-kita mo na. I
I
wonder
see
for
it.
you, because I'm sure you interview a lot of people, so you would see, you'd really understand people. What are red and green flags for those that don't have that detector?
Okay, so first of all, I really think that we're all flawed human beings, right? Like if you're gonna start putting red flags on people, they're gonna start putting red flags on you. And I think
Yeah.
the most beautiful part of like a relationship is to be like two completely weird and complex human beings with problems and red flags all the time, and just constantly trying to change yourself, instead of like you trying to change another person. So
Mm.
I don't think there's such a thing. I mean, unless of course, my only two red flags are really like if you're mean to my children, right? You don't get along with my children, or like you distract me from work or something like that. But in terms of like personality, little quirks and things like that, even things that people argue about, like he cheated on someone before. I mean, that's situational. There's something that led him to be that way, so, and
Yeah.
that you could have also been in that situation, and you could be the red flag yourself. So there are a lot of like it's a misconception. I don't think like we should be posting specific character traits on any human being at
Correct.
all.
Danny,
Only
what would you teach your boys? You have two boys, correct? Right. So
yes.
what would you teach your boys about how they should treat women when they do start dating?
Okay, so I love this book, that seminal book of de Beauvoir on the second sex, right? And if you've read her research, she basically says that if you raise a girl as a boy, they're better off, right? So basically, because you start believing that you could do whatever, that you start,
Mm.
you can play in the football field, you can feel you're not like limited to like certain things and traits that women have just historically been so limited to. So I guess that's what I would teach my children, to treat like girls as themselves, like the same, not as boys per se, but just the same, right? And not like
Yeah.
Mhm.
treat them any different than they would other playmates, and it's already manifesting, like they're so young, and it's already manifesting like in the playground, like, oh, she can't do this because she's a girl. Oh, she's like, she can't play with us. And I'm like, no, she's better than you. She's gonna kick your ass and like football, right? Like the gender neutral, gender stereotypes, like they're taking that out in Europe, right? Like the girls section and the boys section for
Yeah.
babies. Why on earth would a baby need to wear, like, why does a baby need to wear pink or blue to be
Yeah.
determined as a baby, right? It's a baby.
Right.
So if the baby wants to wear pink because it's a favorite color, like it's a color, right? So I'm always like telling my kids, like, if you wanna wear pink, if you wanna wear a headband, if you wanna, paint your nails, it's just paint of the
Yeah.
nails, right? I mean,
Right.
if you think about it, it makes no sense. And when you think of like boys having to wear specific clothes and limit themselves because they might look feminine, it's just a weird concept to me, right? Or a woman in the other sense, like trying to. So yeah, so I think everyone should just be the same, and I think that's what I'm trying to teach my kids.
So, Danny, what made you so passionate about? Were you ever since you were born, your parents raised you to be, to like gender equality was just a big thing with you, or is that something that you developed?
I'm like from a family where they're not very happy that I'm working. It's like
Okay.
Oh,
they would really rather, and I think it's very typical for Filipino families as well. They're happy that I did well in school and stuff, but they'd really rather be seeing me at the home with my kids. And no, so it's a real, I guess, a self discovery thing that I perhaps had innate in me, but that got developed over time, when I did live abroad, and when I realized out there how there's so many other ways to be a woman. So yeah, so I just also I really feel like it's just the most rational way to live, right? It's like it,
right.
it really bothers me that it's even an issue in this country, because why does it have to be even an issue? Why does there even have to be Women's Day and celebrating why, like, or celebrating as woman CEO? It's like, okay, great, but it should be already by now in 2021 a totally normal, not a big deal thing to be, like
Yeah.
even being in finance, or why is it still a big deal? Like, why? Like, there are tons of other like women abroad that are scientists and engineers and whatever, and hella smarter than I am. So why is it that just because I have two kids, it's so impressive that I keep a career? It really shouldn't be. So yeah, I guess it's more of understanding what's out there and that already exists, and that is a completely working model. And just I'm not even trying to really be revolutionary in this country. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to be a normal person.
But what other gender roles in the Philippine culture piss you off the most? Like, I know you mentioned about the whole working, that having kids, people think it's like impressive, but are there other things that when you hear them, it's just like, okay, that is off.
Okay, the whole marriage debate, right? And I
Mm.
guess it's a very religious country, and we tend to, I mean, just lump everybody. It's not, some people aren't even religious and they still feel the need to get married, right? Or
Mm.
early on to please, I don't know, maybe not even their family, but maybe just themselves. So I think it's
Yeah.
really, it's us, it's the person itself. And if that doesn't change in from an individual liberty point of view, right? And I wrote that when it's Philippine Independence Day, it's like liberty, independence has to start from yourself, right? Others know
Mm.
we're never gonna be free of anything, of colonialism, of patriarchy ever. Like, it starts from
Yeah.
yourself. So if you can decide that I'm okay not getting married at this certain age, I'm okay having a relationship that whatever with a married, like a person that was previously married. Now, if you're okay with that and you're at peace with that, regardless of what other people say, then everybody's gonna start like doing their own thing,
Yeah.
and that will probably lead to like more systemic change, right?
Yeah.
But you can't like change the system for people to like start doing it. I mean, you're trying, but the change really has to come from inside, and that comes from reading things, and now there's no excuse. Now you can read what's going on in the whole world at the touch of your fingertips. So
Yeah.
what's your excuse for still believing that what the status quo or what
Yeah.
generation have done before us is still what's gonna work for you? Like, there's no excuse now. So now I think little by little I'm seeing the younger generations as well. Like, they're adamant to to not get married to the person that that will give them financial stability. They're determined to meet somebody that really stimulates them, elevates them,
Mm.
that they truly love, and they're determined to do jobs that don't fit the mold anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that the whole gender debate is really just a lot linked to our culture and religion, really, and which is also still quite oppressive when you come to think of it, and it's the same in many other countries.
But one of the things that we always hear is, I mean, this is more from the older generation. Um, they say if you're coming on too strong in terms of your ambition, your personality, that you can scare off potential suitable partners, or what they
Yes.
say, suitors, which I've never heard the word suitor in a while, right? Do you agree or disagree? Like when handling men, like you really do need to tone it down a little bit, or just be yourself.
So I think that it's a misconception that strong women are aggressive. Like there's a difference between being strong and being aggressive, and I don't think it's even about dating a person. It's just like, do you like being with aggressive people in general, right? And so I think when people say you get turned off by a strong woman, they really mean you don't want to hang out with a person that's overly aggressive, maybe.
Yeah.
And that goes for not just relationships but like with friendships, right? Because aggressive people have something that they're lacking in their lives that they need to sort of fill with
Yeah.
aggression. But being strong is actually, for me, being super vulnerable, right? Like I'm a strong woman, but I'm really like antisocial. I'm really not an aggressive person. I don't like confrontation. I don't fight like in public. I don't shout
Mm.
at people. I'm so like guarded and very vulnerable. I'm super emotional. I cry all the time, and like even in my relationship, I cry all the time. So actually, my boyfriend's like, "How can you be like in news in a power when you're like crying all day and you're very emotional and very vulnerable?" But that. So I think it's more like in relationships. It's not that a guy or a girl or a person gets turned off because you are strong. I think they are unable to relate with you when you're not being vulnerable. And
Mm.
sometimes people think, okay, but that's who I am. I'm just aggressive. I just close myself off, and I do what I want. And that's no. I think you really, honestly, like, you need to let your guard down. You need to like be your when you say be yourself, it's not like attack a person or be stronger than a person. To be
Yeah.
yourself means to be your most raw and vulnerable self. And I think that's really how people fall in love with you. Like people
Mm.
fall in love with a person that can, keep it together and like do their thing, but really are like emotionally open and vulnerable. And I think that it's not because men like whatever women that cater to them or that are less strong, but
Mm.
men at the end of the day, and people in general, just want a person that's open and willing to talk to them and not
Yeah.
attacking them for things, and vice versa, right?
That.
I want.
Knowing what you know now, Danny, what would your advice be to your 20-year-old self, or younger self?
So I think that, like, looking back, really, I couldn't have done anything any different, right? Given
Mm.
the background I came from, the country I came from, the culture I came from, I'm just really glad, I guess, that I managed to, I moved to Europe, and that was all me, all on my own.
Mm.
Like I just wanted to like get away for
I
a while,
want the same. I want to move
right?
here.
And it's like, some people are so forced to have to leave their homes, and some people like don't
Yeah.
want to change. And I just really wanted to change. So, and I think I would pat myself on the back, like really, for having done that, because at such a young age, like 19, 20, I made such a
Wow.
big decision. And I think like a lot of young women today are still not sure. Like they know they have the capability, they know that it's going to be a good life, but then they haven't like done it. And I think, but probably, I had nothing to lose also at that point. And I think
Mm.
now, unfortunately, like with a lot of social media and pressure, like the younger generation have so much pressure to like do
Mm.
things with the world watching them, right? And I'm just so
Yeah.
glad that at my age, when I was that age, I didn't even have social media. I have like, I lived 2 years in Italy without like a picture. I have like 10 pictures of that point in my life, right? And it's so poignant for me. And it's like, now I'm
Mm-mm.
here at the man. And I guess, yeah, what I would have told my 20-year-old self is like, good job, congrats. Like, you got to be yourself without considering other people's opinions at that age, because it gets
Mm.
harder. Like as you get older, right? It gets harder and
Yeah.
harder not to do so. So just live your life on your own terms as long as you can, and hopefully forever.
What is the best advice that you've received?
So for me, like, okay, this I guess for moms as well, it was the best advice, because there's so much like parenting books out there, and then so much unsolicited advice really when you become a mom. That is just the worst. And then you have to like choose camps of certain kind of moms you want to hang out with, because then there's so many judgmental people, and not right. So the
Mm.
first one, when I was pregnant, is one person said like, nothing in this world is worth stressing a baby over, right, when you're pregnant, or yourself. And that changed my perspective, because I was like hyper planning all the future stuff, and it's just not worth it. Like your baby's brain is developing, just don't, right? So just don't answer that email, just don't. It's like the one time in your life where just don't, like, let the world stop, right? And I think
Mhm.
I carry that over into many other things in my life that have nothing to do with my kids. Like that concept of nothing is worth stressing over, right? So like my mental health, like even when I get like a bad person to work with or whatever, and it's stressful, it's like, this is not worth my stress, right? That I've my inner peace, and it takes a while to get to that point. So I
Yeah.
think that's one really good advice. Another piece of advice that I got when I was like, buying a lot of stuff for the babies, for the kids, was, he said like, you know what babies need? I was like, what? Nothing. Like nothing. Right? They just
I
need like, I'm like, you're right. See, if I buy like a pangit blanket, that's enough, right? You don't have to
yeah.
depend on things.
Right.
And I think like becoming a mom made me so much more. I wouldn't say down to earth. I've always been a man down to earth, but kind of just like practical and useful
Yeah.
about certain things. And like, I just don't need extra
Yeah.
random, stress in my life. So just the most simplest things possible. And really, like, what makes a person happy, what makes a child happy, like, is you spend time with them, literally, and you have experiences with them, right? Not like buying
Mm-mm.
like expensive designer baby clothes. So I guess,
Mm.
because of my kids that way, and because they've changed into like boys that are just magulo and messy, and carefree all the time, I've really just learned to be much more carefree about like the things that I buy and the things that I wear, and that's changed my life a lot. Like, honestly, when I think like, what do I need? Nothing, right? Like, I don't need much. And
Let's jump to a quote that you live by, Danny.
okay, so I was thinking about a lot. I'm gonna search. Okay, if there's a question.
Sure.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so this one, I love this one. Christopher Morley. There's only one success: to be able to spend your life in your own way.
Mm.
So that's like, for me, when I read that, it's like, oh my god, that's my
Yeah.
measure of success, diba? Because you ask, like, when you look back on your life, what determines success, what determines a meaningful life? Is it having had all these perfect things, or a family you can be proud of, which a lot of people would love?
Mm.
But really, it's the real success is to be able to have spent your life in your own way. So if there's a chance that I did something that was not my choice, that I was forced into, I already feel that that's like a failure on my part, to have not fought for like what I really wanted to do. So I guess, yeah, that would be, among other quotes, my
That's a great
favorite.
one. Okay, so Danny, here's sort of a light question. What smell makes you happy?
My boyfriend smell.
Ay, oh,
Like,
Sana
cute.
all.
like,
Sana all ganyan.
Sana may naaamoy rin ako.
right, it's the smell of like companionship. It's a diba? Parang attraction. I think it's like
What's the smell? I'm
right.
curious. That's the. Ano amoy niyan?
Musky and yeah, it's sensual. I love it. I think it's like it gets me through the day. I'm
Oh,
not
wow,
kidding.
okay.
Like, I really think it's important to have this, especially now in pandemic, right? Like, even like apparently, like, there's the X amount of percentage decrease in like hugs and physical touch.
Oh, yeah. I was
Mhm.
saying
Hugs
like
and physical
hugs and
touch, the parang even a small like pat on the back of the person is already like a major deal, like, to get through the day. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I guess smell. Okay, so smell of my boyfriend.
I'm
Other
just gonna
smell.
pat myself on
That's
the
super
back.
cute though. I like that. Kinilig
Other
ako. kind of blush
Oh,
a little
maybe
bit.
it's the baby smells. But no, I love essential oils. I love now I've had to stop because I think my kids are getting allergy. I don't know. I'm obsessed with like and I'm so happy about it, and then they're all like complaining, and I'm like, what's your problem? But no, I love like different scents. I love lavender. I think has always been like my go-to
Yeah,
scent,
that's a
especially
beautiful.
now where I really have to have a bath with lavender. I even bought like pieces in Shopee. It's like 15 pesos per lavender stick. It's like ridiculous. Or like in France, you should just buy like bunches of it for so
Right.
cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are my favorite scents. I love floral scents rather than fruity. I'm not like such a fruity sort of when I
Yeah.
don't know. It's sweet. I don't like sweet. I like floral. I'm quite classic, in that way. So yeah, I wish I could have a life where it's all like flowers.
And musky and floral.
Musky,
Musky and
musky.
floral.
I love
Gusto ko
it.
ng
Yeah.
ganyan. Maghanap ako ng
Ayo,
musky.
kilig pa rin. Kikilig pa rin ako
I'm
sa
putting it in my dating
sa answer.
profile.
No, I know. I'm not
Must
kidding. Like, I
smell.
really can't sleep without. Like, even like when my boyfriend's not sleeping here, I have to like he has to wear a shirt for like 3 days, and then I sleep with the shirt.
Oh,
Like,
Oh,
wow.
that's good. You're like a puppy. That's so cute.
it's like when you're breastfeeding, you have to give your shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cute.
So,
Bea went, huh? Man, we're gonna have a smell.
I'm changing my dating profile. That's one of the things that's missing on virtual.
Or dapat send me a sample of your shirt first,
yeah.
and then we'll see.
Really, what's missing with the virtual thing?
Yeah, the smell.
Okay.
What is love for you?
So I wrote that like a couple of days ago, but really I've been thinking about it a lot. Love is so many different things to everybody, right? It's
Yeah.
For many it's like forgiveness, for many it's self-sacrifice or whatever, stability, or a person that understands you, a best friend. And for me, it's liberty. It's really let me be who I am, and I'll let you be who you are. And I think that it's a simple statement, but really growing up, there's so many times in my life like you don't know who you are, and
Yeah.
you assimilate to a person that you love so much, right? You get all the qualities of another person. You get into the barcada of that other person. You start being friends with the family, and you start doing so many things that it's not uncompromising. You feel like it's part of it, right? And then you fit into a certain mold, and now I'm kind of done with that. Like, love for me is like, if you love me, you let me be exactly who I am. You're not gonna vet my posts, vet my clothes, tell me what to wear, tell me how to be a mom, tell me what job I should kind of do. That for me is love. And I struggle to do that also with Dito, because I have so much like dreams and hopes and aspirations like for a person, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want to do that, right? Like, if you do this is gonna be like so great, rah, rah, rah. And no, like if I really do love him, like I'm just gonna like let him be like whoever the hell he is, right? And not have expectations. So yeah, love is liberty. It has to feel freeing. I think for both people.
I haven't heard the word liberty in a while. I've heard independence. It's a beautiful word, and it's something that you're saying about like it's really sometimes you want something from the other person, but then actually just letting them be is probably the better thing to do.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like freedom and liberty, right? Freedom is like to be free from, which means like you feel like you were in prison and then you're free. That's different. Liberty is freedom to, so it's a choice, like ability to sort of. So the liberty to speak, right? It's like it's not like you're not able to speak it. It's like the liberty to do something, to liberty to wear what you want. Liberty so yeah, it's more like choice rather than being like. So I think for a person, I mean, it's not like let me do this. I mean, like but just give me the choice.